Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Soul Seekers podcast, where we believe that hunting has the power to transform lives through primal adventure as we share our mission of mentorship is conservation. To learn more about everything we do, check out our show on Carbon TV or go to soulseekersnation.com. Freedom on, everybody, and stay soulful. Do you want to become a better shooter, reduce flinch, protect your ears, and just overall enjoy shooting your gun that much more? Then there's no better way to do that than by adding a suppressor to the end of your barrel. Be sure to check out Huxwrx Safety Co, as they are a leader in the suppressor world with their OSS Flow-Through Technology, virtually eliminating blowback and toxic gas that can affect weapon system performance and shooter health. To find out more about Huxwrx, go to huxwrx.com. That's huxwrx.com, and go get yourself a suppressor for your upcoming hunts. This podcast is also proudly brought to you by OnX Hunt. When I first got into hunting, I kept hearing all about public land and different access and how to find different locations to hunt. I was like, well, how are people even identifying all this stuff? Well, sure enough, I came across the number one hunting GPS app, and that is OnX Hunt. If you guys want to get better at hunting and go deeper into your scouting, OnX Hunt is the number one GPS app for that. Join the millions of hunters who trust OnX Hunt to find more game, discover new access, and hunt smarter. It was a game changer for me, and I know it's going to be a game changer for you if you've never used it. If you have used it, you know the power that it holds. Guys, I really hope you enjoy this episode. If you want to know more about OnX, go to onxmaps.com/hunt. and check out their app. Be blessed, freedom on, and stay soulful. All right, guys, if you're in the market for optics, I want you to go check out blackdiamondoptics.com. Black Diamond Optics offers world-class sporting and tactical optics, including thermals, all at wholesale pricing, direct to consumer. They are going to be partnering up with us for 2023, and I want to start pointing you over towards their direction. Check out Black Diamond Optics. If you've got any questions about it, shoot us a message. Love to hear from you. Be blessed, everybody. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Soul Seekers podcast. I'm your host, Johnny Mack, and today I am joined by a phenomenal human being, a man of integrity, a man who I've gotten to know over the last year and met at the Western Hunting Expo in Salt Lake City, and that is the owner and founder of Black Diamond Optics, Mark Neely, and he's here to talk all about hunting, shooting, optics, and more. As we dive into this, Black Diamond Optics is one of the companies that Soul Seekers has chosen to work with for this year and years to come, and we really have been falling in love with their products. And I'm not just blowing smoke up your can or doing this marketing job. I really appreciate what they do. Obviously, getting the owner of a company on a podcast is a big deal. And anytime that they're willing to sit down and problem solve with you or shoot the breeze or whatever speaks highly of them and their company. So without further ado, let me bring him on, the man, Mark Neely of Black Diamond Optics. Brother, how you doing today?
Good. Thank you, Johnny. Appreciate you having me.
Always a pleasure. Always a pleasure. I can't believe this. I've been podcasting for quite some time, and it's really wild to see this evolution of where these conversations go and who I've gotten to chat with. And I tell you, man, podcasting is a networking dream. It just opens the doors for so many opportunities. And I'm really excited to have you on and get you to share all about Black Diamond, because for me, I didn't even know much about Black Diamond until I became really good friends with Big Al Morris of Fox Pro, and he introduced me to you and Black Diamond, and then I got to know Rich Gonzalez really well, and the ripple effect.
Nice. Sure. Yeah. Well, hopefully all those people we look up to, and they help us out in the end. So Big Al Morris is a friend of our company, no doubt, and he's used our products over the years. And of course, Rich Gonzalez, he's one of our guys. So can't say enough about Rich. He does a lot for us. He takes care of most of our social media. So both those guys are great guys. And when they told me about you guys, I was excited to work with you. I thought your message was strong that you're putting out, and I think it follows the guidelines of what we like to do as far as hunting.
I
So
love it. I love it. I appreciate that. Yeah, shout out to Rich. I'm so glad he's still alive after smoking a cow on the interstate. Dude, that
oh
his
man, can you
truck
believe
got demolished.
that? Yeah. Wow. It's crazy. He is lucky. He's really lucky.
Yeah, he's coming back from
Yeah.
a hunt or something like that, and
Yep. Yeah.
jeez Louise. Yeah,
He said he was
shoot.
on 3 miles an hour. And he said the only thing he saw was a cow. And he said there's no time to react. It's just you just hit it and take it. And luckily they were seatbelted in and they survived it. So
Man,
uh,
wild, wild times. We're gonna have to get Rich to tell that story here again before too
yeah,
long.
no doubt.
So, Mark, what's your history in hunting and shooting? Is it something that you were raised in? Were you a former military? Is it something that you just fell in love with at a young age, old age? Like, what happened?
Oh man, you know what? As a very young boy, I was very interested in hunting. My dad wasn't necessarily a big hunter. However, the interest that I had, he made sure he tried to be involved and take me. And even my mom, I remember as a 15-year-old in Utah, I was going archery hunting, and my mom would take me up hunting and drop me off for the day.
Hmm.
And she would hang out up in the mountains and wait until I was done and drive me back home. Mom was a super good sport. And she did that all hunting season, my 15-year-old year. And man, we just had a lot of fun. But yeah, I grew up hunting, loved the outdoors, couldn't get enough of it. Uh, really got into waterfowl hunting for a long time, and been shooting and yeah, just living the outdoor dream as much as I can. I
Man,
love it.
that is
So
so awesome. So, I've always been a Second Amendment supporter and believer. Like, I don't know what just is in me. Maybe it's just because I'm that red-blooded American, just patriotic human being. Like uh, I usually every 4th of July I write the preamble to the Declaration of Independence in my driveway. And just let's go, baby, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. But that being said, my love for this idea of shooting and hunting and self-reliance and grit, determination, all this stems from a childhood with a Red Ryder BB gun and watching country western movies such as like Shane. Do you ever remember the book or the movie
oh yeah,
Shane?
for sure.
Oh,
For sure. All the old westerns. We grew up. That was all we had on TV. So yeah, and the Red Ryder BB gun was the only thing we had to go out and try to be men with. So
yes. I remember up in the Northwest, state of Washington, being like getting home from school and it'd be raining and I didn't have a raincoat, but I was like, I'm going to go out without a raincoat because that's what tough guys do. And I'd set up little G.I. Joes and green army men all around my backyard. And I'd play cowboys and Indians and just, you know,
yeah, for
I just
sure.
did it, man.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah,
So,
I had a cousin that had what back then was a farm, and we'd go visit him, and we'd take our BB guns and we'd head down by the rivers and try to be hunters and do whatever we could. And so once I was old enough to hunt, all that translated over, and I just learned by failing, and you just keep moving forward like everybody, and we become better. And
yep.
hopefully my dad instilled the difference in right and wrong, so that I always made sure I was on the right side of the law and doing things correctly, so that I was setting you know maybe an example for myself and others as well. But um, yeah, it was always a good time and always good, safe fun.
Oh man, that's so awesome. So awesome. So you not only have a love for hunting and shooting, but also for animals. You run what is it exactly you do? You run dog competitions or how does that go?
I do. You know what? Ever since I was in uh, probably junior high school, I've had dogs, and I was always fascinated with bird dogs and hunting dogs. And right about the time I graduated from high school, I got into training labs and retrievers, and I got I started getting into field trials and hunt tests, and ever since then, it's became a passion of mine that I can't even tell you how much I love to do it. It's We go out and we train dogs every day and compete on the weekends to see how well they can do.
Oh
And we
man.
travel all over the country doing it. It's an AKC event, and it's a lot of fun. A lot of fun.
Do you raise dogs and sell them, or are you just judging them?
No, I don't judge them. I raise them and train them myself for
Okay.
myself.
Okay.
Yeah, they're my dogs, and yeah, you raise them and you try to make them the best dog they can be. Um, if they aren't good enough for competition, we may sell them to somebody as a hunting dog, but it's pretty hard to do that when they become your pet. So
Right.
um, yeah, most of the time we end up hanging on to those and try to make them as good as they can be.
I
So
love it. How many dogs do you currently have?
I have 6 dogs,
Okay. That's
and
not
I
that
have
bad.
yeah, well, I have 4 that I currently run uh, on a pretty much a weekly basis.
Yeah. I thought you were gonna, say you had enough for a dog sled team. Like
No, oh, it's not quite that bad, but it's like most things, it's very competitive. So if you're not out doing it daily and training daily, you're just not doing very good at it.
yeah.
So it's like anything, any competition you're doing, you got to do it, 100%.
Are you
Or
doing
it's not
the
right.
pheasant upland bird trials? Because I've watched those before and fascinating.
You know what? I'm not. But when I was in junior high, that's actually what got my interest in doing this. Is I had a Springer Spaniel was the first dog my dad bought me, and I remember I was out in the front yard teaching this dog to sit as the best I could as a young boy, and up pulled this guy, and he said, "Hey, I'm with a local club, and every weekend we meet and have these little fun events, and wondering if you'd like to come out." Well, I mean, nowadays you'd never hear of anybody ever doing that. Well, my dad was like, "Sure, he'll go," and loaded me up in this car with this guy and sent me to 30 miles away to this event. And I think that's what hooked me into the whole competition and training and how serious it actually could be. And man, I've had a lot of fun over the years doing it.
That's
So
so
it's
cool. So
a
cool.
lot of fun.
I love
Yeah.
hearing that. Well, how'd your dogs do this summer? Or is it still going?
We've been doing really well, really well. I actually just helped put on the national competition in Montana. I was gone for a solid 2 weeks putting that competition on, or helping put it on. And now we're back to training, and we'll be competing for the rest of the season. So, and the season's pretty much until October, and then there's a slight break till after Christmas, and then you start doing it again.
I
So,
love it. What's up, Soul Seekers Nation? Thank you so much for listening to this podcast. I really appreciate it. As a reward, I have some discount codes for you to use if you are in the market for a brand new hunting pack. Go check out initialascent.com and Initial Ascent packs. They are made in America. Their one-piece carbon frame is an absolute game changer. We run their packs. We love them. And you can save 5% at checkout by using the code SOULSEEKERS. That's all one word. Also, for those of you who are archery hunters and you are tired of shooting at dots on a target, check out deadnutsoutdoors.com for their lifelike 2D archery targets. You can save 20% on all of their products by using the code SOULSEEKERS at checkout. Once again, the code is SOULSEEKERS, all one word. Go check out initialascent.com and Dead Nuts Outdoors. Enjoy the podcast. I love it.
yeah,
Awesome. Well, good luck. And that's
thank
fascinating.
you.
Definitely gonna have to check you out a little bit more in that regard. So
Sure.
let's dive into the world of optics. Black diamond optics. How does somebody get the wild hair of being like, okay, I want to make a better mousetrap, right? Like this, I'm seeing what is on the market or how things are done, and like maybe I can engineer it better. Or what what got you started?
Well, to answer that, I probably need to give you a little history. I My dad was a machinist, and I grew up learning about machining and uh, tool and die making and mold making. And we when I graduated high school, I went to work for a company that built airplane wheels, hydraulic systems, landing systems, stuff like that. And I was lucky enough, as I was being trained to be a machinist, to at that time learn all about CNCs when they very first hit the market.
Hmm.
And I had a company out of Japan actually come in, and the owner of this company chose me to go to their school, which was a one on one school that they did with me directly to teach me how to program these machines, how to self engineer products before they went to engineering, and learn how to, you know, build a product from ground zero up. And that's kind of the history of what I've done my whole life. You know, I remember my brother and I, as duck hunters, we didn't have a lot of money. We were young kids, and we bought this old boat, but we wanted to have a boat motor that could go out duck hunting. Every time we took an outboard, we'd break it. So we ended up building our own longtail motors, and we were always trying to do stuff like that. So I was a machinist for a while, and then I started my own business in the construction field, and I owned a gun store for a number of years. And during that time, I was dealing with optic companies. And, you know, biggest complaint that customers had was the price of what things were going for and how much all the upgrades cost to get. And as a store owner, it was extremely hard to bring those products in because they had these huge demands as far as what kind of quantities you had to have at that time. And to be honest with you, one of them I felt almost insulted me as a business owner, telling me that, you know, basically I couldn't have their product. And I turned to my wife and I said, you know what? I'm going to build a rifle scope. And she looked at me and said, you're nuts. And and, no kidding, we I went to work, and you know, my wife is my biggest supporter without a doubt. Anything I want to do, she's there, and she's gone through this journey with me, and we uh, we were lucky enough to meet some really good people as I was doing it. I've learned over the years that, you know, we only know so much, and there's people out there that can really help us get to where we need to be. So I started reaching out to people, and I met a guy that lives in Europe, and he really helped me move some things forward. He's worked for a lot of big scope companies over the years, and he continues to work with our company on a daily basis to this day. And between what I wanted, I set out to where I wanted to get the best glass I could possibly get, put it with the best turret system I could come up with, and make add all the uh, multiples as far as options into one scope to where we didn't have 10 versions of the same scope.
Hmm.
Do it in a price effective way. So once I actually figured out what I wanted, then I had to go shopping to find out who could build it. And that also meant that I had to go overseas and find the type of people that could represent my company or do the machining that I knew needed to be done. And luckily, I had that experience to know what good machining was versus poor machining.
Right.
There's good and bad. I don't care if you're here in the US, if you're in China, you're in Japan, or you're in Germany, there's good and bad everywhere you go.
Mm.
And it's a matter of sorting out the good and bad so that you can build the product that you need at the right price. So we outsource. Our glass comes from one place. Our turret systems are developed from one place. Our all of our products come from different origins, and by doing that, we can make our scopes at a decent price in the end, and try to hold the best quality we can.
That's
I
awesome.
mean,
Are they assembled in America though?
no, we do have some things that are, but we normally they're assembled wherever the tube's being made. So we have some stuff made in Japan. We have some stuff that are put together in China. We have them all in different places. And the reason for that is cost. I mean, when you start shipping them around, the aluminum in China is so much cheaper that you just can't beat the tubes being made anywhere else. I mean, their cost is just way cheaper. Um, However, you have to know what product you're buying and what the tolerances are to be able to assure the quality. And so that's what our job is to make sure that we outsource the best places we can.
Ah, interesting. Okay, so let's talk about optics and glass specifically because when I got into hunting and I bought my first pair of binoculars, I bought some Cabela brand ones that I thought were pretty good. I didn't really want to spend that much money. Um, it was, I was like, okay, I could spend this much more on binoculars, but am I going to get that much more in return out of them? All this different stuff. And then you hear this, well, if it's not European glass, it's not that good. Then the Japanese glass, then, Philippines, China, all this stuff. But I'm sure there's a lot more that goes into it and debating on whether or not it's good or not good. So I see you the way you're responding to this
Well,
question.
well, the yeah, there's a big misconception, no doubt. Uh, a good piece of glass isn't good until it's cut and ground. So there's a lot more than just where it comes from. It's how it's processed, and also how it's coated. Um, there's glass that comes out of Japan that is fantastic. I mean, and there's glass that comes out of Europe that's fantastic. However, there's people that can get that glass and have it not fantastic also,
Mm.
because of the prep and stuff. So there's all different grades of glass. But um, I feel like the one thing that we did is, with our first scopes, is developed quality glass. I mean, when our scopes came out, everybody applauded us on the clarity and the light gathering of our scopes. And to this day, there's nothing that makes you feel better than when somebody says, "Hey, I sat that scope down to my Zeiss and compared it, and they're very comparable." Well, that's exactly what I want to hear. I want to hear you say it's very comparable. I want you to tell me how I can make it better, because I'm going to try my best to make that happen. But even more so, I'm going to make sure that my scope is considerably less money than that other product so that you can afford it.
Mm.
Because that was always my hiccup as a business owner trying to sell the product, is the end user can't always afford it. And, why can't he? There's no reason why he can't. So we're trying to set up products for those people that they can see the quality of the big name brands and get it for less money.
I love it.
That's our goal.
I love it. So one of the scopes that I got to use this last spring bear hunt that I went on in Idaho was the long range tactical rifle scope. Kind of, by the way, how you name things. Uh, I just trying to figure out, like, okay, who's gonna buy a long range tactical rifle scope? Is it only for long range hunters? Is it not? All this stuff. So I've got really did my research on your website, and I really noticed one of the things that popped up is the pricing changes based off of your magnification. So whether it's 2 to 10, 3 to 15, or 5 to 25, is that the technology that goes into that much more of a magnification? Or how does
No,
stuff
not
get broken
necessarily.
down?
Well, there's yes, but I mean, the big thing is there's more product there. I mean, there's more glass involved.
Yeah.
I mean, there's more material. So that represents the difference in cost. The very first scope that we put out was the 5 by 25 by 56. And the very first scopes that I had put together, I had a friend come over and look at, and he said, "You know what, Mark? I think I know some guys that would be interested in this scope." And I said, "Well, take it to your work and show it to them, see what they think." I got to tell you, at that one guy's place, we sold over 300 scopes.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. As a thank you, I got more discount codes for all of you. If you are in the market for anything in regards to calls, whether it's elk calls, turkey calls, deer or predator calls, you can save 15% on all Rocky Mountain hunting calls by using the code SOULSEEKERS. That's all one word. And if you're in the market for hard side hydration, a better way to hydrate, go check out hardsidehydration.com. Use the code SOULSEEKERS10 to save 10%. And we also have a discount at Graxaw.com. That is, Graxaw is the leader in ultralight game bags and other backcountry gear. Light, fast, and efficient is their motto. Use the code SOULSEEKERS, all one word, to save 10% at checkout.
This is no kidding, and this is at a Air Force base here locally, and I sold over 300 scopes in the first 3 months of us making them, and that's when I realized, holy cow, this is actually a business. Because I had originally built it in the intent that me and a few friends would have them, and this is really where it's going to go. And then people started telling me what they wanted, and I produced it, and hundreds of people bought it, and slowly grew from that. But yeah, so yeah, the difference in price is definitely difference in the amount of material that's going into it, and it takes more to put a 5 by 25, especially in a 56 millimeter. There's more glass. I mean, there's just more product there.
Yeah. Hearing that, it sounds like, yeah, duh, I should know that. But consumers don't necessarily think like that, right? They're like, okay, I got $700 for a scope, or I got this much for a scope. What can I get? What should I get? What magnification? There's so many different, add-ons that you could say to a scope. That's like, where do I go? What direction? When it comes,
Our two main scopes, the two number one selling scopes, is our 3 to 15 by 50 and our 5 by 25 by 56, both in our long range tactical line. Those are our first scopes, and to this day still are our best sellers. Could be because of price range, but things beyond that have been developments that other people have suggested to us that we've went on and built. Like for instance, our ZS-25. It's a zero stop 5 by 30 by 56. It's in a 34 millimeter tube, much bigger scope, much heavier. It's designed for very serious shooters and hunters, and there's more development, more cost involved in that scope. Mm-hmm. So, everything that we've done, we've tried to put out the way we would want it. We're all end users. Everybody here at Black Diamond is a hunter and a shooter. And when we build a scope, once I've tested it and I feel like it's what we need, then it goes out to our guys. And our guys take that and they hunt with it and they use it. And we have guys using it every day to make sure that, one, it's going to hold up, and what else can we do to make it better. And once we feel like we have a scope or a product that that we feel like is worthy of our name, then we put it out for sell, and it becomes available to you.
Right. Okay. Speaking of the name, how did you come up with Black Diamond?
To be honest with you, I'm not exactly sure. The Black Diamond became a talk me and my wife had. You got to remember, we were in the shop and she's laughing at me, and we're trying to figure out a name at a point once there was an actual product there. and Black Diamond just seemed to fit. It just was something, one of the names we just, came up with and thought it fit what we had. So
Yeah.
there's no real story behind it other than, the two of us out there talking about it. So
I love it. I love it. Um, so you started off with the long range tactical scope. That was like this company. You're like, all right, I'm going to build a better scope than what you're doing. You set off, you did that, you sold 300 within like a month or so. And then you're like, okay, wow, this is a business, and you just stayed in the lane of rifle scopes, or was it like, oh, well, now I'm in the world of optics, and you really started to expand?
well, when we built the 5x25, we had people that said we want something similar and less power because not everybody's looking to shoot 1,000 yards.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how we built the 3 to 15 in the same line, same turret system as the 5x25. Uh, they then from there we went to um, our ZS models, which at the time was a ZS20, which is a 5x30. We currently aren't, that isn't available. We had a Gen 1 we put out. Um, we are now making a Gen 2 of that scope. It's a 5x30. It's still in a 30 millimeter tube, so it's much lighter, very similar to our 5x25. However, it has zero stop. And the reason why we've changed that is we built that zero stop, and then we built our ZS25, which is a 34 millimeter version of those, the much bigger scope, and it has a different zero stop system. That zero stop system was much nicer than the ZS20. And me being the person I am, I had to improve the ZS20 to that type of stop. So that's what we're currently working on right now. And it's actually out being tested with our guys as we speak. So
Awesome.
we're very putting that out.
And so then you expanded into binoculars and spotting scopes, or what was your
The
progression of
reason
the
why,
company?
so the thought with the binoculars and spotting scope is our customers were asking for them, and our stores were asking for them. So we decided that was a line we needed to approach, and we had a one of the companies that was building one of our rifle scopes came to us and said, "Hey, if you want to ever approach this, we're willing to take a look at it with you." And so um, we met up with them. I don't know, at SHOT Show one year, and then I flew out and we approached it a little more, and that's when we came up with our binocular and spotting scopes, which are now being made in Japan. And both of those was to kind of complete our line, of optics for a store and for our customers. The end user, they wanted them. Same as our UL12, we had customers that wanted a more of a traditional style hunting scope, lighter weight, and less expensive that they could have for their wife or their kid or
Mm-hmm.
whoever. And that being said, we put the best glass we could put in it, and we'll keep it affordable.
I mean, your UL12 at 250 for a 4 to 12 magnification. I mean, that is a pretty smoking deal.
You know what it is. And I I was told by many people that I was putting way too expensive of a glass in it, but I couldn't handle it. I was looking at this glass that they were recommending, and I just couldn't bring myself to using it. And so we really overglassed that scope. That scope has phenomenal glass in it. And we turned around and took the same scope and put a exposed turret system on it. And that's our UL12T, which stands for tactical, so that you can adjust the dials on it as well.
Man, that right there is, I mean, if you're listening to this podcast and you're like, what rifle scope do I just want to put on a gun that is kind of your do all? rifle scope, that UL12T, is what I personally would go with if you want to dial
Yeah.
out to like 400, 450, but then be able to walk the woods and jump shoot anything as well.
Yeah. And it has the same reticle system as our long range tactical scopes.
I just let me jump in here for a second. All you listeners out there, this reticle that Mark uses, I really love. And I'm not, once again, I'm not trying to be salesy. There are so many reticles on the market from all these different optics brands, and it's like, what do I go with? Ultimately, you got to go with what do you like most. I have always been a traditional duplex fan, but a lot of a lot of optics companies in lower end models make their duplex super thick, and it drives me nuts. And
Yeah.
so I had a Zeiss rifle scope, HD5. That was the very first one that I was like, okay, I like this because it's so thin and fine. But at the same time, I felt like I wanted a little bit of windage marks, but not too many, right? I didn't want to get cluttered and overwhelmed. And so when I actually looked through the long range tactical scope and I saw the reticle, I was like, oh, I like this. I like this.
Yeah.
You're 2 MOA down and 1 MOA left and right. It's
Correct.
not too much, but it's just enough to like get somebody to get on target quickly if need be.
Sure. So that scope, when we built the reticle for that, it was designed for one. So when you're at the range, you could use it like you would a more complex reticle. But when you took it hunting, it wasn't so much that you was lost trying to find all of those hash marks in a
Mm-hmm.
hurry. Um, and we took that same reticle when we built that ZS-25, and we separated it right at the point of the crosshair meeting, and it became a dot. And we did that because as we talked to a lot of um, very serious long range shooters, they said that to have that separation in line and have it just become a dot increased their accuracy.
Hmm.
And so we took that to heart. I mean, this is a recommendation that we felt came from very credible shooters, and we've had nothing but compliments about it. I know you haven't personally seen that one yet, but when you do, it's a little more complex of a reticle. However, it has the same design factors inside of it. So
I love it. Yeah, in what long range shooters of Utah is a very prominent group within the long range shooting. So I'm sure there's a lot of feedback that you were able to get um, when it came to that very quickly. Uh, Man, I'm going through and hearing it. Is that kind of the similar platform? I know your LT6 scope, your 1:6 first focal plane is not a long range scope, but that does the same type of dot concept. Is that what you're going for there, or is
correct,
that more quick acquisition?
correct. Yep, yep, same thing.
Man,
Yeah, very very similar. That design of that reticle is a little bit different because with the first focal plane, your crosshair at low power becomes pretty well useless. So there is that outer circle that goes around it that's heavier, um, so that you can actually use that for low power. And then when you turn up the dial, then you still have your fine reticle to be able to, be more accurate at longer ranges. So
awesome. So when it comes to your glass, are you sourcing from? I mean, you already said it earlier. You're like, well, glass is glass. It's all a matter of how it's ground cut and then finished. Is it
sure.
a Black Diamond is a European glass company, or is it more like how does it work?
Not 100%. Not 100%. For instance, we have found in spotting scopes, we use an ED glass that comes from Japan, and we find that we get a better picture out of that glass. So once again, it comes back to us once we develop it, using it and trying it. One thing that I probably skipped over is when we put a scope together. Um, a lot of times we'll get a lot of different color combinations for our uh, coatings. And by doing that, we feel like we can find things that work a little outside of the box. Like most people just use a standard um, color coding system. We actually hand pick ours. So we ask for a couple different options and we try to sort through that so that we can, um, try to make ours as the best we possibly can.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So we our coatings pretty heavily, but yeah. So answer your question, no, not 100%, because some glasses, some glass represents, like in our spotting scope, we find that that's a better glass. So we're using that ED glass inside of it.
Okay.
So
What is, and this goes for all the people out there being like, what is ED glass? What is HD glass? Does it actually stand for definition? What is UHD? I
yeah,
mean, all these
definition, ED is it's the way that the light's transmitted through the glass, and without a whole bunch of technical terms, it's just the processing of the way light goes through the glass. And um, my understanding is that Sony developed ED glass years ago for camera systems, and it's perfected from there. The HD glass we get is more of a standard high definition glass that comes out of Europe. So, there's all different types of glass, but like I told you, grinding is really what makes the difference on the glass.
interesting.
The quality, yeah.
So is things when they're called ED more Japanese, HD's more European? Is it like what is it? What is it? Fahrenheit to Celsius, or you know?
Yeah, somewhat. I mean, it just depends. ED glass is just a type of glass, so um, yeah, it's just a type of glass. HD is a type of glass. There's all different types of glass, and ED is just one of those types of glass. So
Okay.
um,
I mean,
it's just
I don't want to beat a dead horse, but people, they get sold on the simplest of things. Marketing is just an ultimate psyop on people, right? It's like,
and
like, oh, there's a U in front of HD. It's ultra high def. Like, like,
for sure. Yeah. No. Yeah, I've heard it all. I hear it all. I'll walk into stores and we'll put on seminars to try to teach people, about our scopes or different things, and I get the opportunity to listen to the guy behind the counter, and some of the things that I hear is just unbelievable. I mean, it's just a sales pitch at best. I mean, so yeah, I would say if you're looking at rifle scopes and you want to know what those things are, you should look them up and really take the time to understand what it is that you're buying, because a lot of people will tell you, you got to have first focal plane or you got to have second focal plane. I can tell you, first focal plane is not for everybody. Second focal plane is not for everybody, and you need to decide what's best for you. You put first focal plane in some hunting scenarios where you need low power and you've got a fine reticle. Uh, Good luck, because finding that reticle can be extremely difficult in a busy background. So, everybody needs to understand what those differences are and figure out, what's going to suit them the best, not what suits their friend or their neighbor the best. So
mhm.
I would suggest looking into, everything about that scope before you make the purchase.
I love it. Do your research. I think that's what this world has coming down to is you can't just trust what the news tells you, right?
Right. Oh man. Yeah. It's unbelievable some of the things you hear about different companies, and I can't even believe that those companies would say the things that people are saying they're saying, because those things aren't true. And you know, uh, the integrity throughout, optics or even sporting goods or anything in general is, you should do your research on what they are, because transparency is very important as far as knowing what you're getting and a lot of these companies are not being very transparent as far as what they're doing. I have personally been in factories all across the country, and I have seen products there that I've heard are only made in the US. And I can tell you without a doubt, I've seen them being made elsewhere.
Hmm.
So do your homework and don't fall into the trap that what everybody says is true.
So let's talk about falling into the trap. A lot of people will be like, I'm only buying this company's optic because of a warranty, or I'm only buying this company's optic because you don't have to use the warranty, or you know what I mean? Like, there's
Sure.
a lot of that out there. What do you believe in when it comes to that, and and how do you run your company?
Well, I'll tell you, everybody has problems. I mean, that's just part of life. And recognizing the problem and taking care of it is the difference. So if we have a scope come back, we try to do everything we can to justify what the problem is that this person's seeing and how we can fix it. So if that means we've got to go out and physically shoot the rifle scope or tear it apart or whatever it is, put it, run it through a collimator to see if it's tracking correctly. Whatever we've got to do, we do it, and we try to do it as quick as possible because you don't want to be without your rifle.
Right.
I don't want to be without my rifle. There was a rifle company that's here in Utah, and I'm going to throw a little kicker at them, and it's Christensen Arms. I got to tell you, I had a problem with the rifle, and I had a action that was stripped, and I was leaving in 2 days for an elk hunt. And I drove to Christensen Arms, and I met Jeff there, and Jeff Bradley. And Jeff Bradley took my rifle, sat down, and tore that gun apart and put a new action on it and sent me away and educated me while I was there. And I'll tell you what, Christensen Arms in my eyes will always be a top notch company
Yeah.
because he took the time to do what I needed so that I could be successful on my hunt.
I had a great experience with them also. This is before I got. Actually, my first hunting rifle was an AR-10 platform Christensen Arms, and I I I had a Porsche Boxster at the time, and I had my first kid, and I was only driving my Porsche to work and back 5 miles on a road that I could only go 35 on, and I was like, somebody else needs to get use out of this car because I'm not going to be able to drive it the way I want to. And so I traded it for two AR-10s back when AR-10s were like, they were expensive. They still are, but you couldn't find one for like under 2,500
Yeah,
And
yeah,
so I traded a Porsche for two of them, and one of them was a Christensen. And I put a suppressor on it back when suppressors were just kind of really hitting the market hard, and it had gas issues, and the bolt ended up jamming on the gas tube and denting it and all this. And I called up Christensen, and they just worked with me on the phone. Bada bing, bada boom. New bolt got sent out. It was like
yeah.
easy peasy. It was great.
Yeah. That, and their customer service was fantastic. I mean, and I talk to those guys now, and they're just top notch, and they're running the company the way it should be ran
Yeah.
by taking care of their customers. And that's what our goal is. I mean, we're not going to tell you that you can't have a problem. We're trying to minimize every problem before it leaves here. But if you do have a problem, we want to take care of it as quickly as possible and get you back out hunting.
Right,
So,
because time is of the essence when hunting
that's
season
right.
is a month away or a month and a
Sure.
half away. And I don't know about every listener out there, but I know getting to the gun range when I have 3 kids at home and the wife works, it's not the easiest to be like, all right, babe, I need to be able to go sight in my gun
Yeah,
again, or I want to get more trigger time. And, you know,
sure.
like time is
Yeah,
money, right? And,
yeah, for sure. For sure.
oh, man. So, on top of you getting into optics, and you'd be like, all right, stores were like, complete the line, give us binoculars, give us a spotting scope. You also dove into the world of thermal optics.
Oh boy.
What got you into that?
Oh man. Well, you've hunted with them, haven't you?
They're phenomenal.
Thermal optics, the goal is our motto is expand your potential. So if you can hunt 24/7, why not do it? I mean,
Yes.
thermal optics is you don't understand what goes on at night until you've actually done it.
Yep.
Uh, and the funny thing about thermals is that you can have one that's rated the same, a 640. Oh, I've got a 640 and it's 12 micron. And you can go out and you can look through two of them and they're completely different.
Mm-hmm.
You've actually got to do your homework and look through them to see what makes that thermal, better than another one. And when you have a good one, and you can see a coyote coming in at 1,000 yards, and you can identify that thing at 500 yards and not have any question. And you can see all the mice running through the field. It is exciting. It's super. Yeah, thermal hunting is a blast, and it's a game changer for especially you use them for pigs down where you're at.
Yep.
We do a lot of coyote hunting up here, but just the viewing. I mean, you're at night. I've had coyotes come in and I've looked at them and they're right in front of me and you take your head away from the thermal and you cannot believe that you can't see it. It's so close to you.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Oh, it's
But
so wild. I just took out a
oh yeah,
brand.
the reason we got into it is they're so much fun. And once again, we had a really good company come to us and say, "What would you want in a thermal?" And I laid out everything, and they said, "We'll put you a sample together." And they sent it, and we didn't build that product. I cannot take credit for it. However, all of my guys told me what they wanted, and we've been building it off of that since. And even to this day, we're still putting improvements into them. And they've this company's built us a line that is specific to everything we need. So
Oh man,
for us, it's fantastic.
I love it.
Fantastic.
When I got to hold out the first time I checked out your thermals at the Hunt Expo, and I put it at the ground, and I was watching people walk by on the carpet, and their heat signature was registering on the carpet after they left. I was
Yep.
like, "Whoa, this is
Yeah.
this is the real deal."
Oh yeah, no doubt about it.
Are you guys
it
planning on coming out with a handheld at all?
you know what? Not as of right now.
Okay.
Uh, the hard thing to do is when you have a really good thermal and you've got a really good field of view, is to pick up a little handheld that has a smaller field of view and use it that way.
Yeah.
Because if you're truly scanning like the way we do here, um, you end up on your rifle 20 the whole time. I
Yep.
mean, because in an instant, a coyote's in front of you.
Yep.
But the big thing is with thermals is like I was saying, there's two different. You may have two scopes that are rated the same, but you get out and you look at a coyote at 500 yards, and but that cheap scope when they're showing it on their video and it's at a dog at 10 feet, man, that picture looks really good.
Mm-hmm.
But at 500 yards, that thing looks like a little white dot out there instead of an actual coyote. And, some of them, you can still see that coyote very clearly at 500 yards. So that's part of, you got to do your homework. But yeah, thermals are exciting. It's a new technology and it's fun. No doubt about it. It's a lot of fun.
I mean, it's gotta be like super fun for you to be like, I made this. I'm using this. Like this is the product that
I'm an end user, Johnny.
yeah.
I am. I'm a hunter and I'm an end user. No doubt about it. I don't, any product we put out because I want to use it too.
Yeah.
I got to be able to believe in it to be able to sell it. So if it's thermal or it's a scope or it's pair of binoculars, it's going to be what I want to use, or else, I don't want to put it out. I don't want to put out something that, I wouldn't feel good about using. So
Yeah, totally. What are some common errors that you see that users end up doing to screw up their gear and then they're calling you being like, hey, something's going on with my scope. What's happening?
Well, the number one thing is mounting, no doubt about it. Uh, if you want to make yourself more accurate, the first thing you need to do is you need to buy a scope mount that has a level on it. And when I say a scope mount that has a level, whatever attaches to the chassis itself has to have the bubble on it. Not the top part of the ring, but the bottom part, so that when it's level with your gun. And then you need to set your crosshair to a plumb bob with the base being level. And once you've done that, then you need to take the time to go out and shoot at 100 yards and get yourself sighted in. And then you need to track that turret up 15 inches or whatever and make sure that it's traveling up and down, because no matter how good you are, if you're not traveling square, you're never going to be as accurate as you could be.
Okay, you just said something that I haven't heard before. That is very important. Shoot it at 100, but then while you're at 100, take that scope up. Just
Yeah, make sure that as you're making your adjustment, you're not drifting, because I have guys that they'll be at 600 yards and they're hitting 4 inches left, and they're like, I can't figure out why I'm always hitting left. And so I'll have them do a simple test. I'll say, shoot 100 yards, move it up 3 inches, then move it up 6 inches. Tell me where you're consistently hitting. You know what your group size is, so be realistic. I mean, if you're say you have a 1 inch group, or it's a 1/4 inch group, whatever that is, as long as you're within that realm, you know where you're at. But if you're shooting 2 inches left when you're 6 inches high, you've got an issue with your scope's not mounted level, so it's not traveling on a plane. Has to travel on a plane to be accurate. So do the simple test. Make sure your gear's working correctly, and then go out and practice. It'll make you a lot better shooter.
Okay. I like that. I'm gonna use that here on the next couple weeks as I prepare for this coming hunting season. What other things do you see that people contact you and you're like, or have contacted optics companies and be like, it's not working, help, help?
Well, a fast focus eyepiece is not designed to be turned through all the way out as far as it goes. And by doing that, they pull the parallax of that eyepiece out so far that uh, it's very hard to be accurate ever. When you move an eyepiece to focus it, so if you're at 100 yards and your parallax is at 100 yards, adjust that eyepiece as little as necessary to become clear. I've seen some of the old time shooters where they'll grab a scope and they'll just twist that eyepiece out like 2 or 3 revolutions before they even get started. And I've seen that cause a lot of problems by doing that.
Okay.
The other thing is people don't realize how important the trigger pull is, and for accuracy. So trigger pull becomes a big issue as well.
Interesting. Okay. And then what do you guys recommend for ring tightening? Like, can you over tighten your ring scopes?
Well,
Your scope
absolutely,
rings?
absolutely, you can. So our rings, we have ours has a little more surface than most. We recommend ours be tightened 15 to 18 inch pounds on the rings themselves and 30 on the bases. Now, every ring manufacturer is going to have their setting, but you need to make sure you follow that, because what you can ultimately do is crush the tube of the scope. And one, it can affect your parallax adjustment, but it can also just break the tube and ruin the scope. So, yeah, over tightening is probably causes more problem than under tightening does. So,
Yeah.
most of the time they're over tightened. People need to use a torque wrench. Just by using an Allen wrench, you're not doing yourself any favors.
Especially if you've been working out, right? It's like, oh,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, 15 pounds isn't that much.
I freaking love it. Mark, how can you um what would you say is the best way that what people can find Black Diamond Optics, right? So you mostly direct to consumer, but are there dealers, are there people, or what's the way that someone's like, okay, I want to try out these scopes, I want to look through them?
Sure.
Um,
We try to do as many big events as we can throughout the year. But you're limited on how far you get.
mhm.
We have people like your group that use our products, and they're representing, you know, different things. Like we have people do reviews on how to adjust things, and how the things hold, how scopes perform in different conditions. But ultimately, there is some stores out there. We mostly have been selling to custom gun builders, and there's a reason for that. Um, Most of the guys behind the counter are not educated, and in our market, there's a lot of scope companies that basically give rewards to the guy behind the counter for selling their product,
Mm.
and um, they necessarily aren't actually looking out for what the customer is looking for. And so by going to a custom gun builder, they understand what that rifle's needs and what that owner is looking as far as an expectation, as far as what it's going to do. And they can recommend the best scenario, and at the best price. They know what kind of price. They want to pay $5,000 to put their night force on, and there's nothing wrong with that. But some people can't afford that, and they need other options and things they can do. So um, being educated was our biggest thing. Is so the custom gun builders understood that the most. So throughout the country, we have quite a few custom gun builders that have our scopes. But certainly they can call in. We're happy to talk to anybody and try to work with them,
I,
answer any questions we
I
can.
love it. I love it. I'm actually doing an Instagram live with Alamo Precision Rifles tomorrow, and
Oh yeah,
turns out that I needed to get a barrel threaded so I could use one of my Huxwrx suppressors on it, and I was like, man, who's the best gunsmith around Texas? And everyone's like, Alamo Precision. And I was like, I don't want to go all the way to San Antonio. And turns out they're 40 minutes from me. And I was like, oh,
oh really?
hot dog. So
Nice.
I was in the shop and I asked them, I was like, I saw that they carried rifle scopes. I was like, do you guys ever carry Black Diamond? And they're like, I haven't heard of them. So it's like, all right, Mark, I'm going to have to carry one of your ZS-25s and take it into that shop and get it in
Sure.
front of those guys. And,
Well, and that's probably our fault as far as not being in some of the bigger stores. But we try to spend, instead of spending a bunch of money on marketing and stuff like that, we're trying to put as much money into development as possible. Um, we're not a marketing company. We're a manufacturing company, and we're trying to build quality products and trying to evolve them into what everybody wants to use. And uh, so we try to spend our money more in that direction, I guess, instead of a big sales team out chasing every store.
mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, there's a lot of areas that we aren't in yet. We do have some marketing groups that we work with, but um, that we aren't everywhere.
Do you guys
And
do any demos
we do, yeah,
that if someone was like, hey, I'd love to pick up a demo scope, or is there like a 90-day trial, or I don't know, just interesting stuff that other companies do when it comes to direct to consumer or stuff like that.
yeah. So, what part of what your problem is there is we do that, and if we have so many products that we send out, we're limited on how many of those we can have as demos.
Mm-hmm.
And so there can be some time restraints as far as people waiting for them. And so sometimes that doesn't always work out very well as far as, I mean, if I send you a scope and you say, yeah, I just need it for a few days, realistically, you're going to have it for weeks, because by the time you get it and you mount it, and then you have to deal with the kids, and then you go out and you shoot it, and then you want to shoot it one more time. And and pretty soon it's been weeks, so
Yep.
it does take a little while. So there's a little bit of, you know, uh, challenge as far as getting them to the people as quick as they would
I
like
love
us.
I love it. Your ZS-25, how did you make that more for the long range hunter or competition shooting and PRS and that type of stuff?
Both, both.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I mean, I have guys that's all they'll shoot for hunting. Um, it gathers more light. I mean, it's a bigger tube. It's a bigger scope. There's guys that they want to shoot a long ways if they have to, and they're capable of doing that. But it's for both. All of our based around recreation of both shooting and hunting. There isn't one that's specific to only one or the other.
Yeah, right, right. Yeah, no.
What it's whether or not that first focal plane fits you. Like we said, there's a lot of guys that think first focal plane is the only way to go, but you get them out in a hunting scenario, it's not necessarily my favorite to hunt with. So everybody has their opinion. I like a second focal plane for hunting. So everybody's going to choose what they like, but it is designed. That zero stop system is fantastic in that scope, and you'll be receiving one soon. So hopefully you can tell everybody what you think of it as soon as you get
I
it.
can't wait. I can't wait. It's going to be awesome. Mark, thank you so much for coming on the show, talking about Black Diamond, sharing your story, all that. Do you got any hunts coming up that you're super excited about, or is it all the dog trials that your focus is on currently?
You know what? I am a very big elk hunter, but unfortunately this year I have struck out on drawing tags.
Oh,
And it has been awful. I can't even tell you how many I've put in for this year, and I'm probably going to have to buy a landowner tag or something to be able to go because it's not looking good. We do have our here in Utah. We'll have our general season hunt, and we take our kids, and it becomes more of a family event than actually a big hunt. But I'll do that, and I look forward to that every year. But yeah, I've got some friends though up in Montana that have tags, and I'm certainly going to be there during the rut. So
nice. That
wait
is
for that.
that is so awesome. I unfortunately will not be chasing elk this year. It just didn't turn out for my schedule. I took a nice week last year and I drew a quality elk tag in the state of Washington, my last year as resident up there, and got 30 yards on this beautiful, beautiful bull. But there's brush right in front of the vitals. So I never shot, and I was like, no.
Oh,
Anyways, that episode is going to be coming out on Carbon TV in the month of August in preparation for the September Rut Fest that everyone's going to experience. So you guys can check out that episode. But Mark, I'm so honored that you got to come on. Thank you so much.
thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolute pleasure. Absolute pleasure. Guys, everyone go check out blackdiamondoptics.com. Go browse through their scopes, what they sell, they offer. What I loved what Mark said earlier is get yourself some scope rings that have a bubble attached to them. That really solidifies, um, making your mounting that much better. Black Diamond just happens to offer those as a product that they sell. So if you're looking at picking up some rings, go check out their rings as well. Mark, anything that I did not ask that you want to make sure gets covered real quick?
No, I think we covered everything other than me and you got to put a hunt together.
Heck yeah, we do. Let's do that. Let's do that. Guys, be blessed. Thank you so much for tuning in. As you can tell, mentorship is conservation, and God calls us to love Him and love man, and mentorship is the way that we get to love one another. Just like Mark was starting Black Diamond Optics, it took a good mentor to inspire him and get started. Same it is for you in igniting that spark in someone else's soul that is going to transform their life through primal adventure. Be blessed. Thank you so much for tuning in this episode. Don't forget to go check out the new episodes of Soul Seekers launching on Carbon TV, as well as the podcast. And if you are interested in picking up some sweet merchandise, Soul Seeker store is officially online. Go pick up some stickers, hats, shirts, whatever for this upcoming hunting season. Mark, thank you so much. Be blessed, everybody. Freedom on. And remember, stay soulful. If you enjoyed today's podcast and want to support the show, you can always like, share, subscribe, and leave a rating as it helps us share our mission of mentorship is conservation. Thank you so much for tuning in and being a part of Soul Seekers Nation as we transform lives through primal adventure. If you want to get more connected with the podcast, check out the Soul Seekers Nation Facebook group, as I look forward to connecting with you on the next episode. So stay tuned and stay soulful.